What's up, guys? It's Tube. Today I'm going to show you guys some fake leaks and a couple real leaks that have been going on for Scarlet and Violet. Let's go to it. First, I'm going to start with an interesting theory, and I didn't realize this. See that plate that was in Area 0? I hadn't realized that this plate is the same one shown in Heat's drawing of Area 0. What seems to have happened is Heat and his team excavated that plate and then laid it on the ground, and that's what we see when we go to Area 0. Something happened to Area 0 and it was like put in a wall or something, but to me, it almost seems more like the theory I said about an Atlantis, because it looks like if all this stuff was on top of Area 0 and it all crumbled down and crashed, that you'd get them hidden in a wall like this. And yeah, Light's post here says that it seems like a giant hand can be seen holding it. You do have to tinfoil a bit to see the hand, but you have to think, this is what Heat saw 200 years ago. So it is a question, what led to this slab being put on the wall like this? And now a couple other things I want to show you is, remember when we saw this spider pattern in the first trailers of Scarlet and Violet, and we were trying to figure out if there was a new bug Pokemon and stuff? Well, I just want to close the book on that. It was just this girl's skirt. It was just her skirt. Why did they put it in the trailer? Why did they show this texture? All right, here's another thing I want to show you. Here's an interview made by Ken Sugimori, who does a lot of artworks for Pokemon, and that's what they call that style, Sugimori art. Pokemon designs is a huge process. I mean, if you're an indie company, you just make designs, but with Pokemon, they have teams creating designs, and then they have to get approved and then turned into models, and then official art is made and all this stuff. But for Ken Sugimori, he says here that sometimes when we have Pokemon designs, that they have to make them look more goofy. They have to get rid of realistic features. So here's Combi, right? Here you can see Combi, what it really is. It's the little larva bees that are in their little pods, you know, when the queen bee plants them. That's exactly what Combi looks like. You never notice that actually in the official art that it becomes, but this is a realistic approach to it. A lot of people will say Pokemon has too many goofy designs, or, you know, like Golden Go's evolution is ass. Well, Golden Go itself. And the point is, Pokemon intentionally makes designs goofy. They're not incapable of making badass Pokemon. In Digimon, everything is badass. That's their approach to things. They make every final evolution look crazy and it's amazing. But Pokemon always has a different take where they want to make things look goofy, and it actually works for them. It makes Pokemon a lot more successful. That's why Dunsparce evolves into the Dunsparce. By never forgetting that Pokemon should be goofy and fun, Pokemon always conquers in an interesting way. So I just want you guys to remember that when you think of some evolutions you don't like. All right, let's go to some leak, just people trying to uncover secrets in Scarlet and Violet, right? So I saw this tweet. It's a trademark for Do-O. So someone tweets, Do is RFOO? And I saw this tweet, I'm like, oh shoot, this sucker's onto something. Do is the Japanese name for Clodsire. There ain't no way they're making a regional fake for a legendary Pokemon. Not in this generation. Maybe give us like 2-3 gens and you might get a regional fake. There's actually a theory going around that the Galarian birds might be regional fake-like, because if you look at their Pokedex entry, for some reason all of their entries say, because they act like this, we called it Zapdos. As if they couldn't understand it was Zapdos in nature. They just named it Zapdos because it looked like it. I don't think that's true. I think it's just the fun they were having when they came up with those Pokedex entries, because they're trying to explain how Zapdos, Articuno, Moltres still have elements to them. The freezing glare, the fiery rat, thunder's kick. So it's not that deep. But this tweet was actually sent in response to something Khu posted. And he says, Central speculations are hilarious. Remember that we have already told you the types of PS and PV. Okay, so I've been looking into this a bit, of course. And what he's saying when he says PS and PV are these two Pokemon. I guess he's trying to tell us they're actually gonna be in the DLC. We were just speculating up until now. They're actually in there, and he calls it PS and PV as Paradox Suicune and Paradox Virizion. Now, I didn't know they would call it Virizion. I thought maybe Cobalion was the head or something. Now, for the typings that Khu's talking about, it isn't set in stone anywhere, but we can go back to the video I made last time where we looked at the moves that were leaked for these Pokemon. One was Hydro Steam, one was Psyblade. So it made it seem like for Entei, that's just what I'm gonna call him, it's a water fire type maybe. And then for Virizion, it's maybe a fighting psychic type, hence Psyblade. But ideas are coming around that maybe Entei is in fact fire water, but that Virizion may be grass psychic. Not even fighting at all. they completely maybe even lose their fighting typing. I would feel like fighting psychic would make more sense there. But let me show you next post. The Chinese Riddler, who is not Khu, it's another figure, posted on his Chinese social media some posts. He's talking about the DLC, of course, and he has figures like 1.5. This is him talking about 1.5 times boost on certain moves. He's talking about here Hydro Steam and Psyblade. He's talking about the signature moves that were leaked. And this Chinese Riddler is trying to give us info on what the moves actually do. Translated by Sin Song, this is a translation we can get. There's 2 moves in the data that nobody can use. You know what I mean. One does 50% more damage under the sun, the other 50% more damage in the electric terrain. This is exactly what I was talking about. Hydro Steam sounds like Steam Eruption. Unless it's a fire move, then this would be okay. But if it's a water move, the ancient Pokemon function in the sun, so it would just cancel out using a water move in the sun. So it seems like if it is a water move, Hydro Steam, that its damage doesn't go down in the sun and that it actually gets boosted in the sun. Imagine that, a freaking water move that does boosted damage in the sun, which can kind of make sense, right? It's steaming hot water. Maybe the sun can help it get hotter. It's also interesting. So if it turns out Virizion really is a grass psychic type, maybe what Psyblade really is like an evolved form of Sacred Sword. So the Chinese Riddle didn't specify he was talking about Hydro Steam and Psyblade. He just says 2 unused moves. Alright, and then I want to show you fake leaks going around. So here's the first one. So when talking about Chinese social media and what they're talking about over there, one leak has been going around about stuff on the DLC. Here's the post right here, and they're saying that the DLC is being called Crimson Illusion and that it's one giant DLC that maybe spans for the whole year. Crimson because you would assume Manzana, like Manzana Academy, which is apple, is red. But they also say there is a second crater. This makes no sense, bro. A second crater? First off, this crater isn't even normal. I told you before, craters, they make an impact. They don't create a whole tunnel going that deep into Area 0. Here's a real crater right now on screen. It's very wide, but it doesn't go that deep. What are you trying to tell me? Like when the 3rd legendary fell from the sky a million years ago, that his arm fell off and made a different crater? But yeah, this is fun to talk about, but apparently other Chinese insiders that have been right about Pokemon before called this fake. Some people connected this to a 4chan leak that popped up a bit earlier, and that maybe the Chinese insiders called this post fake because they didn't properly translate that 4chan leak. So I went and found the 4chan post. This is the actual one, and I'm gonna tell you right now, this is 99% fake, but we'll go through it because this is a drought and we want to have some fun ideas to talk about. So here we go. The DLC is called the Magenta Mirage. This is much better, but also Magenta is so close to Violet. Can you guys not just say Amber? Say the Amber Mirage. The color is right there. Khu posted this post where he shows 3 hearts. Purple heart, a red heart, and then a goldish heart, a yellow heart. Just, if you guys are gonna make leaks, call it Amber. So they say only one DLC this time, but it's bigger than both of Sword and Shield. Listen here. Why would Game Freak do this? Why would they? What? They can't charge you anymore. They're not gonna charge you 40 bucks for one DLC. They know how to maximize their money. They're gonna split into 2 DLCs. Comes out November this year. Okay, so this can be believable to an extent because Game Freak does need more time with Scarlet and Violet. I'm pretty sure if you gave them like 5 more months that most of the bugs would be gone. There wouldn't be the low FPS issue. They just have to make games again and again every year. They're under a tight deadline that they couldn't patch up most of the game before it came out. Hence why they probably didn't announce the DLC in January. The footage they show in the DLC is going to be reflective of the progress they made so far. So maybe they didn't make enough progress on the DLC where they can announce it now. Even if that DLC comes out in November, they still would split into multiple DLCs. One in November, maybe the next one in March of the next year. There's no way they're stuffing all of their DLC content to get just one payment from you. They say also it's the code name for the 3rd legendary, Magenta Mirage. It lives in a second crater, which is what the top right area of the map is. Alright, so you're telling me for thousands of years people have been going around Paldea and everyone's focused on this crater, no one's gone to the second crater? How can he live in the second crater if he went in this crater and saw the man? Was he just visiting? The crater is separated by 2 tribes. One is an ancient looking tribe and the other is a futuristic one. So they're saying the crater is like split in half by future mans and past mans. It seems they're trying to lead to a direction where both paradoxes can exist in the same game maybe. I mean, that does sound pretty crazy. If you went in that crater, especially if it was a hidden crater, so maybe people in Poldia didn't find it for thousands of years, and when you go in there, there's actual civilizations still living there. Past ones and future ones both may be getting illusions from the third legendary and properly believing in it. Covered in terra crystals, the second crater I guess, with some Pokemon and people having been stuck in them for hundreds of years. Oh. Yo, the tribes are stuck in there. They won out. The tribes live in fear as they can't escape the crater. Hey, I thought they worshipped the third legendary. You telling me they're being tormented by it? How can y'all not escape the crater? You just climb the walls, bro. Unless the third legendary polished it to be like a smooth ball that you can't leave. Y'all can leave. Ooh. Unless... Check this out. Unless the crater is closed off. Like after the impact, it got covered in rubble. And so there's the space underneath. A giant space where for thousands of years a lost civilization has lived. Split into a future and a past clan that are probably like clashing at each other. And maybe the same way the crystals are filled with like energy, maybe they don't need the sun, that the crater is thriving and trees are still growing because of the crystals being down there. Hey, yo, that's not bad. You can see in Area 0 when you go down there, there's some crystals attached to trees, almost like the trees do benefit from them. Alright, this is obviously fake, but you know, that's a pretty cool idea. Magenta Mirage has an ability to counter both Koraidon and Miraidon's abilities, but why? I think the third legendary is going to be more like Eternatus versus like Zygarde, where Zygarde counters Xerneas and Yveltal, but Eternatus, he's just doing his own thing. Magenta Mirage summons the Psychic Terrain and Rain. Alright, this sounds horrible, but it actually sounds kind of interesting. It just doesn't make sense how it would perfectly counter the past and future Pokemon like that. Its real name is Mimeu. It is a water dragon type. Okay, that sounds kind of nice. So maybe they're going with some serpent-like creature for how the third legendary looks, which would be interesting, especially if we want to go off the little Atlantis theory that maybe the crater used to be filled with water. Maybe this dude was just swimming in there like a little Milotic for years. Mimeu realizes people's ambitions and materializes them to keep people believing in it. Okay, so we're going off the dream theory. It uses the energy of belief to stay alive, constantly feeding people dreams, eventually driving them insane. Okay, this is an interesting idea. This is pretty much how Calyrex works, where if less people believe in Calyrex, the sucker is just gonna vanish. The fact that this Pokemon, if the dream theory is real, can make Pokemon out of thin air seems kind of broken. There must be some kind of trade-off. Heath was a science fiction fanatic and came in contact with Mimeu, eventually creating the Paradox Pokemon we see now. Inspired by it, Sadantora built a time machine which was powered by the Terra Crystals. The Paradox Pokemon did come from the past or future, but one that was changed by Heath's desire to see Pokemon from another time. That doesn't make sense. It comes from a past and future made by Heath's imagination. That's the same thing. It was made out of thin air. New Paradox Pokemon that will be in the DLC. Paradox Suicune called Storming Waters. Water Ghost. This typing makes no sense. Especially now that we know the move called Hydro Steam. Paradox Virizion, Iron Blade, Grass Psychic. Oh, they went with these typings so that the two counter each other. Ghost beats Psychic and Grass beats Water. Okay, well, be calling them Suicune and Virizion and then focusing their typings on that is kind of interesting. What if the two fusions are actually Suicune and Virizion as the base and not all three of them equally? Paradox Delphox called Wicked Mage, Fire Fairy. Okay, so they're bringing in the Kalos. Paradox Chestnut, Iron Shelter, Grass Steel. So a past Delphox in one game and a future Chestnut on the other game. A past Greninja called Rogue Warrior, which is Fighting Dark. And then another Paradox Greninja from the future, which is Water Poison. I could see that happening. Greninja getting the Charizard treatment where it got 2 megas. Greninja does seem like the next candidate for that. Though I feel like Game Freak is simple. If they were to do the Charizard treatment again, they would just do it to Charizard. They wouldn't pick another Pokemon. Paradox Kilowattrel. Who asked? Thunderstorm. Thunderstorm? That's a freaking word, bro. Sure, bro. Let's get a past Pokemon that's part water and can't use water moves in the sun. Paradox Glimora, Iron Flower, Poison Steel. Wait, what? A future Glimora? Shouldn't we be using Glimora to explain the third legendary? Mimeu, and then 2 new Pokemon called Reflechheim, A Chimeco evolution that's Psychic Steel. Oh, shoot. Tarampara. A Garvantula evolution that's Bug Electric. This DLC is gonna be crazy. Just being able to see more cross evolutions, regional variants, fakes, and paradox Pokemon, even if it's just like 1 or 2 of each category, it's gonna be cool. And that's the gist of it. It's been a while since we've had proper 4chan leaks, so that was fun to look at. Y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments about what you think will be in this DLC, what you think Suicune and Verizon will actually be, their typings, and I'll see you later.